Egypt, a land that has witnessed empires rise and crumble, where the echoes of pharaohs still whisper through the sands. For thousands of years, the world has looked to this ancient nation as a symbol of power, mystery, and monumental ambition. From the pyramids of Giza to the temples of Luxor, Egypt has never been afraid to build big. But today, it's doing something that's baffling the world once again. Deep in the desert, far from the crowded streets of Cairo, Egypt is constructing a colossal new city, one that could redefine its future or quietly bury its problems under billions of dollars of concrete. They call it the new administrative capital. But the real question is, why is Egypt building an entirely new capital city when they already have one of the most iconic cities on Earth? The story begins about 45 kilometers east of Cairo, in a barren desert roughly the size of Singapore. It's here that Egypt's boldest and most expensive urban experiment is unfolding. A city that could one day house between 6 and 12 million people. Construction began in 2016, and from the very start, the ambition was staggering. The new administrative capital, or NAC, was envisioned to be the crown jewel of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's Egypt Vision 2030 plan, a national dream to transform Egypt into a modern, self-sustaining powerhouse. The city already boasts the largest mosque in Africa, a vast Olympic sports complex, and the tallest skyscraper on the continent. It even includes a presidential palace, parliament buildings, and headquarters for nearly every government agency. But behind this glittering promise of progress lies a question that's dividing Egypt. Is this city truly being built for the people, or for those in power? To understand the motivations behind this project, you have to look at Cairo, a megacity bursting at the seams. With over 23 million residents, it's one of the densest urban areas in the world. Decades of rapid population growth have pushed Cairo to its limits. The housing crisis is dire. Millions of residents are forced to live in informal settlements where safety, sanitation, and even basic infrastructure are barely maintained. Many of these buildings are dangerously unstable, and residents face the constant threat of eviction with little legal protection. Add to that the influx of refugees fleeing from conflict zones like Sudan, and you have a city struggling to breathe under its own weight. The chaos doesn't stop there. Cairo's traffic is legendary. Endless hours of gridlock that choke the city in both smog and frustration. Experts estimate that a third of the capital's air pollution comes from vehicles alone. Simply put, Cairo is collapsing under the pressure of its own population. So, on paper, the new administrative capital seems like a logical solution, a way to relieve congestion, modernize infrastructure, and offer Egyptians a better quality of life. But as history shows, this isn't the first time Egypt has tried this. For over 4 decades, Egypt has been building new cities in the desert, urban experiments meant to draw people away from Cairo. Projects like Sadat City in the 1970s were once hailed as the future administrative capital. Yet today, Sadat City houses barely 80,000 people. Others, like Sheikh Zayed City, evolved into exclusive enclaves for the wealthy, gleaming neighborhoods surrounded by poverty and sand. These cities failed to attract the working class or solve Cairo's housing problems. Instead, they deepened the divide between the rich and the poor. So what makes the NAC different? And why is it being built now, under el-Sisi's rule? If you look closely at its design, you begin to see something telling. The city's western districts nearest to Cairo are filled with residential complexes, hospitals, and commercial spaces, a showcase of modern life. But the heart of power sits far to the east, separated by 16-lane highways and military zones. That's where you'll find the presidential palace, parliament, and ministries, a fortress of bureaucracy physically and symbolically isolated from ordinary citizens. Critics say the NAC wasn't designed to be walkable or accessible. Instead, it was designed to be controlled. One structure in particular stands out: the Octagon, a sprawling new headquarters for Egypt's Ministry of Defense. Satellite images reveal a massive complex that dwarfs even the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. It's built right next to the Olympic City and Government District, symbolizing the deep intertwining of military and state power. And that's no coincidence, because Egypt's military doesn't just protect this project, it owns it. Officially, the $58 billion project is being managed by the Administrative Capital for Urban Development, ACUD, a state-owned company. But 51% of that company is controlled by Egypt's military, with the remainder under the Ministry of Housing. That means the armed forces are both the financiers and the primary beneficiaries of this entire venture. They're selling the land, the apartments, and the commercial spaces, reaping the profits from a project that was supposedly built for ordinary citizens. And since military finances in Egypt are classified, no civilian authority can audit or question where the money goes. To make matters more complicated, El-Sisi's own rise to power is deeply tied to the military. He's a former commander-in-chief who led the 2013 coup that overthrew then-President Mohamed Morsi. Ever since, his administration has tightened its grip on Egypt, promising stability and progress while critics accuse it of consolidating control through fear, censorship, and surveillance. And that's where the NAC takes on an even darker meaning. The city's location, 45 kilometers away from Cairo, isn't just about decongestion. It's about distance, creating a physical and psychological barrier between the government and the people. The heart of Egypt's revolutions has always been Tahrir Square, a place where citizens have gathered for decades to protest corruption and demand change. It's where the 2011 revolution began, and where Hosni Mubarak's regime finally fell. Later, it became the epicenter of the protests that helped El-Sisi rise to power. So, what happens when you move the entire government out of reach, to a place surrounded by desert, protected by military zones, and monitored by 6,000 surveillance cameras? You make protests nearly impossible. You ensure that no angry crowds can march on parliament or occupy the square. You build a capital designed not just for efficiency, but for control. It's a strategy that mirrors what happened in other authoritarian regimes. In Myanmar, for example, the government built a new capital, Naypyidaw, far from its main population centers, complete with massive highways and empty government districts. Today, it's often described as a ghost city, isolated from the people it's supposed to serve. Many fear that Egypt's new capital could follow the same path, a sterile monument to power that shines on the surface but stands hollow inside. Meanwhile, Egypt's economy is facing one of its most severe crises in decades. The Egyptian pound has plummeted, inflation is soaring, and millions are struggling to afford basic necessities. Despite El-Sisi's assurances that no public money is being used, reports show the government has taken on billions in loans and state-guaranteed debts to fund the NAC. The official line claims that land sales within the city cover the costs, but that claim doesn't hold up when you dig deeper. Much of the funding is, in fact, tied directly to the state, meaning Egyptian taxpayers are shouldering the risk whether they like it or not. So, who will actually live in this futuristic metropolis? The answer seems obvious: not the poor. Apartments in the NAC start around $50,000, a staggering price in a country where the average annual income is less than $3,000. The government says thousands of families have already moved in, but the numbers tell another story. Only about 5,000 families are currently living there, and officials hope that number will double by the end of 2025. Even if that happens, the city will still be a vast, half-empty expanse of glittering towers surrounded by desert winds. Phase 1 of construction, covering about 168 square kilometers, is mostly complete, while Phase 2 is still underway, with plans stretching to 2027. The city now boasts a grand opera house, new theaters, and even a green river park designed to mimic the Nile flowing through the desert. But as impressive as these developments sound, they also raise a haunting question. Is this a city built for the Egyptian people, or for the image of Egypt itself? In many ways, the NAC represents a paradox. It's a symbol of modernization and national pride, yet also a reminder of inequality and control. It's supposed to be the city of the future, but it risks becoming a monument to the past, to the same centralized power and inequality that sparked revolutions in the first place. The new administrative capital could become Egypt's greatest triumph, or its most expensive illusion. Whether it thrives as a beacon of progress or fades into a glittering ghost city will depend not on its skyscrapers or highways, but on who truly gets to call it home. Because in the end, a capital isn't just where power sits, it's where the people belong. And if the people can't reach it, then maybe it's not a capital at all. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Egypt's hidden megacity, make sure to subscribe for more stories uncovering the world's most ambitious projects. Your support helps us bring you the untold truths behind the biggest builds on the planet.